Hello and welcome back to College Disc Golf News with me, your host Nickens, breaking down all the things that happened this past weekend in disc golf. Make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit subscribe. That way you can get this out to other people and more people can see the sport. That's what really this is all about. And so today, kind of a slower weekend. I say that there are three events, one of them being a regional, but for the most part, this was kind of a pretty simple event. There was both the conference events happened in one day, and so I'm excited to break those down and then talk about the Minnesota regional. And so we're going to go ahead and just jump right into it, and we're going to talk about the Battle at the Beast with Texas A&M, Baylor, and UMHB. So, as I mentioned previously, I was looking into this course and the way it played, and I was a little surprised. I thought that people could go down, but I guess it was the weather for that event. Like, they were not playing super well. I don't know exactly what happened. So, I had them at 4 over. Texas A&M, which I knew was a really good team, they pretty handily beat that with their squad. And so, let's just go ahead and jump into what happened this weekend. So as you're seeing on screen, I've got the singles pulled up, and Texas A&M's A team took down one, two, three, and technically they were tied for fourth with Avi Kumar getting that one down, tied with Christian Woolsey of Baylor. And yeah, Texas A&M looked really solid from start to finish this event. And I knew they were going to win handily, probably. I didn't know if it was going to be this handily. They just, when you have all of your team going under, especially at a course like Brazos, you are going to be able to do some pretty incredible things. And beating the next best D1 team by 9 strokes is pretty impressive. Reese Peterson had an 1,000 rated, 5 down with bogey free, which is really impressive. His teammate Noah Johnson had more birdies, had 7 birdies, but with those 3 bogeys, that is, only got to 4 down. Hatcher Mason had 5 birdies, but had a double bogey on 4, that kind of difficult par 4. Avi Kumar had 5 birdies, but had 4 bogeys, and so pretty impressive stuff from them, though. Able to keep it pretty much clean throughout the whole course, and when you have your whole A team taking up the top spots, that is what is going to happen. Also, want to make sure we shout out Landon Richmond from UMHB and Keaton Black. They were able to play well, but unfortunately, with those other guys, that I think their other teammates went about like 15 over and 20 over, it put them out of the hunt really quick. And Baylor had some guys that are up in the double digits as well, and so really, it was going to be coming down to, does Texas A&M keep it clean and team doubles, because there are some tricky parts of this course. You can get off, you can get into some OB, but as long as you got 2 guys, you should be able to keep it clean. So coming out of singles, Texas A&M was at 3 down. You had A&M's B team at about 6 over, and then Baylor University had a 6 over as well, and so it was kind of a battle for second place. And really, A&M had to put up nothing much. They put up an 8 under team round, bogey free, kept it clean. Really, that's all they had to do. Didn't have to go out there and shoot something crazy. Now the fight for B team was interesting. Pretty much A&M's B team was in the mix the entire time. They were clawing and fighting, and they went 6 down on the front 9 and were ahead of Baylor by 1 stroke heading into that back 9. And Baylor was able to reclaim the lead on 13 after A&M went back-to-back bogeys on 12 and 13. But with a bogey on 14 and then A&M making a birdie on 14, they were able to keep it clean and really take it away. In fact, they birdied 3 of the last 4 holes to take it over Baylor's A team. So impressive stuff from A&M. They got a deep roster. Excited to see what they've got going on. As far as the other teams, US A&M C team had a 400 round. Pretty impressive of them. Be on the lookout for them at D3 Collegiate and the Collegiate Nationals. UMHB, they had 5 birdies on the day, but a double bogey on 11 with teams is not something you see every day on a par 3. Especially a par 3 that is 279. I don't know if there was OB there, what exactly happened, but it is a difficult Difficult track sometimes, so I'm not gonna be too harsh on them. But be on the lookout for all these teams. South Central, there will be more coming out here soon, so be on the lookout for them. I'm excited to see what they do. Unfortunately, there's only 3 teams, but when you're playing the Battle of the Beast or you're playing at Brazos, it's always a fun time. So next, we're going to go over to the Northeast Conference Tournament, where at Sullivan Park Disc Golf Course, we had 5 teams show up from the Northeast Conference. Some of them in preparation for the Mid-Atlantic Regional that's going to be happening this weekend, and then also you've got some teams that are just kind of get out there, getting their conference event done for the weekend. And so this kind of reminds me of a course that's near us, or the opening course for the Appalachian Conference, Winged Park. It's kind of it's 300 foot less at Sullivan Park Disc Golf Course, but still wooded. It's probably a little bit more open and a little more gettable, but some interesting things going on at this course, and definitely a course where teams are going to be going back and forth, and that's exactly what happened. We opened up with singles with Kalashat and taking it down by 2 strokes over the WPI guys. Duncan Farguson had a 6 down. Blake Berkey also tied for 6 down. Peter Stickney of Houghton at 6 down. Max Kovalicek at 5 down. And Ryan Lorenk at 5 down. A lot of guys all kind of next to each other. And so really, after singles, what came clear is that if you'll see, the WPI guys had the lead. They were up 3 strokes heading into the teams round, even though Kalen was up for his team, finished first. He was they were a few strokes behind, so it was 49 for WPI, and Houghton and Redeemer were at 52, so they were kind of chasing them going into the teams rounds. So going into those team rounds, it was anybody's game. Like this again, this course is very attackable, very scoreable. Unfortunately, I didn't have the whole scores put up. They kind of didn't exactly get the story of what happened for the most part. What I do know though is that a WPI only got 11 down, and on this course you can score more, and that's what happened. Houghton scored 12 down, but Redeemer had an impressive 14 down to push it to a playoff. And so what happened is they started playing sudden death from the first hole all the way through, and it went to a 5-hole playoff. And Redeemer on that momentum on the 5th hole was able to take the W over Worcester. I mean, what a performance! Impressive stuff for them. I know it's not the most technical and hard course in the world, but when you're playing as a team, you got to stick together, and everybody's got to perform. And that is exactly what happened for Redeemer. But still, shout out the Worcester guys. I know it's a tough loss, but they played really well. Nothing to hang your head about. And so, congrats to the Redeemer guys. Houghton had a pretty solid round, 14 down. They needed to play better in singles. Weren't able to make up the deficit like Redeemer was. So 3rd place, 14 down, not bad at all. RIT, 2 of their guys, Tyler Brazy and Grant Van Dyke, were able to kind of pull that team up. But when you don't have that singles average, they were even lower than Houghton and Worcester. Were not able to get there. And Buffalo got a lot of new guys on that team, both on their A and B team. So be on the lookout for them. But they're going to be a team that's continuing over these next few months. Very quickly, I want to make sure that I mention our ladies. Leah Dawn took it down 6 down. Now, I will say they played the shorts, and I think they easily could have played the longs on this one. 3,000-foot course for Leah Dawn is way too easy for a Canadian champion. She took it down easily with her teammate right behind her, Kiara Perrin Bouchard. Shout out to her. And it's impressive stuff from Redeemer this weekend. And I had WPI winning this coming into it, but congrats to Redeemer. They proved me wrong. They still got a really solid group of guys. Again, this is another time that I picked a team, and they had it in singles, and they just didn't come together in the teams round. That's really an important part of the game. And we're going to talk about teams rounds here in a second, because really that is what it comes down to at the Minnesota Collegiate Regional as well. All right, and finally we're going to talk about the Minnesota Collegiate Regional, the Collegiate Showdown, that is. And man, oh man, I told y'all coming into this was going to be kind of a birdie or die course. This was going to be who was going to put themselves in the best position to score the most often. And you had to compete every single round. Really, at the end of the day, you're going to have a high single score. But the teams round actually is really what it came down to. And so coming into this, I kind of picked the most solid teams from these regions. I really liked Illinois State. I liked Duluth because of last year, and I had Iowa State in third. Those are the teams that I was kind of like, these guys probably going to be the ones fighting it out, duking it out for those top spots. And then I had Illinois State's B team up there in first. I thought they were going to do well. St. Thomas, I thought they looked really solid on paper as well. And then I had Iowa State, then Minnesota. D2 was going to be really tight the entire way. And still D1, but mostly in those top three spots. And so let's kind of jump into what happened this weekend at Kaposia. So on the D1 side of things, I kind of had it called down. I knew Illinois State was going to do well, and they jumped out to a really hard start, and they uh, turned out 15 down. Man, an impressive start. 15 down on the first day. Exactly what you needed. Get yourself a lead. Build it up because that is what you're going to need going into. You want to be able to control the pace of play and the other teams behind you trying to catch up to you. 15 down, only missing 3 holes. There was a long par 3 on 7 that they missed, another long par 3 on 9, and then another long 3 on 13. All of the short par 3s, the par 4s they got, those are the ones you need to get. Iowa State, I told y'all, Iowa State was doing well. They were tied with Whitewater coming in at 12 down, and then University of Northern Iowa at 10 down, and Minnesota Duluth really disappointed. Only at 8 down. That is definitely not what they need. That is such a big hole to dig yourself out of. 8 strokes off of the lead and 4 strokes off of the other D1 players. That is going to be really difficult to dig yourself out of in terms of teams. On the other side of things, on D2, round one was a tie between Illinois State, Iowa State, Minnesota showing out at home at 9 down, Illinois State D3 team at 4 down, and St. Thomas, man, a disappointing round, only 5 down, especially for the quality of guys they have on their team. They were also 4 strokes off, 5 strokes off the D2 bid position. And both these guys that I predicted second, they were going to have to build themselves out of the hole that they dug on day 1 through singles and round 3. Now in singles for D1, Illinois State again looking really solid. 3 of their guys in the top 10. Connor Wilcox had took it down, 9 down. A really impressive showing from him. It was a 9 down. He took a lot of those, again, those taking advantage of those short par 4s, the shorter par 3s, and didn't look back. 1,007 rated with a bogey, no less. I mean, could have been a 10-17 rated if he wanted to. But this, we're talking about Minnesota Duluth. I really like Zach Trotto, and I like those guys from last year, and he did that. He had an 8 down, tied with Kyle Rowley from Illinois State. Hunter Nemeyer, who I thought was going to really lead the way for you in University of Northern Iowa, was doing well. But surprise of the tournament, UW Whitewater. Gage Marion and J.J. Robinson really holding it down for their team. And I'll tell you what, those other guys were not playing too bad at walls. Zach Wolfram at 3 down, and Dylan Elliott 1 down. So they had a really good average. So the team that I really didn't know much about with UW Whitewater looking really good. Iowa State, who I thought would do a little bit better during this round. Now, not they did horrible, but they should have taken more strokes off of this round and ended up only taking 3 strokes down, whereas Illinois State took 6 strokes and University of Whitewater had 4 down. Minnesota Duluth was able to make up 1 stroke on the competition with 4 down, but that's still 4 strokes off. A 5-stroke lead, there was still 4 strokes off of that D1 bid position. And so my team that I really had going into it just didn't make up enough ground from D1 to really put them in themselves and singles to put them in a position to be able to carry it into day 2 and have striking distance at that bid. Now in D2, again, Illinois State having one of the better averages. But again, another surprise team. Now I should have known this. It's Minnesota, but you kind of see all that Minnesota together. It doesn't put together the full story. It was two of Minnesota's B team guys and two of Minnesota's A team guys. So it's not like they averaged 5 down going into that teams round, but still impressive from them. Having that many guys on your team that can go 5 down in a course like this is important. Now, the University of St. Thomas, Cole Clem and Justin Thilmany, both were trying to make it back, make up some strokes back, but in a similar position to University of Minnesota Duluth, they were only able to make up 1 or 2 strokes, and at the same time, they were still tying Iowa State and Minnesota in terms of their team score. And so, really, I mean, these kinds of courses, these shorter courses where you kind of need to be on fire the whole time. So, I was talking about, like, you had to be on the whole time. You couldn't take a round off. And that's what happened to Duluth and St. Thomas this time. They were not able to make up enough ground to get into striking distance. So teams that I really didn't know if they were going to be able to, have a shot at it. I thought, they could, but I didn't know for sure. Like Minnesota, like Iowa State, like University of Whitewater were taking advantage of this, and all they needed was to be solid in round 3. And so now heading into day 2, round 3, the penultimate round, the thing that was going to decide everything, you had in D1 Illinois State up by 5 strokes over the University of Whitewater. 21 down for them. It was just going to take a pretty average round for them to finish. I don't think you could really catch up to that at this point. So really, it was going to be up for that D2 bid. University of Whitewater had the lead at 16 down. Iowa State was at 15 down. Northern Iowa and Duluth were a little bit behind. Northern Iowa at 13 down and University of Minnesota Duluth at 12 down. It was going to take a heroic effort to get up into that second D1 spot for Duluth. Then you had ND2 Illinois State at 13 down. They were in a lead, but not without striking distance from Iowa State and Minnesota, who are at 10 down, 11 down, and 10 down, respectively. St. Thomas and Illinois State, it was going to take a pretty incredible round from them in order to get into position to really have a shot at it. And so where we end after day 2 was this. Illinois State was able to pretty much cruise. They didn't have to push super hard. They just had a normal, just a regular day, 14 down, just 1 stroke off of where they did it in the first round. So really it came down to what was going to happen for that second spot. And man, it went crazy. Now, University of Whitewater, they were in the lead, so they had to, kind of hit a certain mark to really beat everybody, right? They were trying to thinking like 10, 11 down potential. Minnesota Duluth starts off with a 7 down front 9 to University of Whitewater, 6 down, right? Iowa State was a stroke behind Whitewater after the front 9, and so they were trying to catch up. University of Whitewater then catches back up and has an impressive 10 through 13 stretch where they went birdie, 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 4 birdies in a row. Duluth missed one. Iowa State missed one, right? So while they were making up maybe 1 or 2 strokes, they weren't able to make up enough strokes in the end. It was kind of coming down. They had to birdie out. Both Iowa State and Duluth needed to birdie out in order to take down that second spot for a playoff. And it wasn't enough. Minnesota Duluth with a 14 down, a heroic effort. It came down to 1 hole, and they just couldn't birdie it. They ran out of steam. Iowa State just was slow on the day in comparison, only kind of matched where Whitewater was going. And Whitewater was able to take it down with a 27 under. An impressive performance from Duluth and Iowa State, but that's the issue is that you can't give yourself that much room off of the stroke. You have to be able to be in 3 or 4 strokes of some of these guys in the teams rounds. I want to talk about Northern Iowa for a second. Unfortunately, they just kind of fell off a cliff. Only 3 down. I don't know what happened. I don't know if someone got injured. But unfortunately, a flat day 2 for them, so they were never really in the hunt. Now going over to D2. It really took kind of a lot from a bunch of these guys to catch up to Illinois State. And it didn't look like it was going to happen. You really needed to get going on this front nine, and both Minnesota, St. Thomas, and Iowa State only went 2 or 3 down on the front nine. Illinois State going 5 down. I mean, that puts such a stroke separation between them, and Illinois State was able to close it out at 23 down. And so, with this slow start, I mean, Minnesota and St. Thomas, where Iowa State had built that lead, that 3 stroke lead or a couple stroke lead heading into the day, they needed to catch up, and Iowa State was able to close out the back nine, even though they only went 2 down, went 7 down on the back nine. Minnesota had a very slow day with 7 down, and while University of St. Thomas, they really tried to catch back up. They went 7 down on the back nine too, just only 2 strokes down, and then being so far away, being 5 strokes off of Iowa State, it just was never going to be enough, unfortunately. So I did pick both Illinois State to sweep. I was right on that. I did get both Iowa State in third place. I got that on D1 and D2. I missed Minnesota. Congrats to them. They played really well. But I also really missed Whitewater. I didn't know much about them, honestly. Like they haven't been a team that has been on my radar at all. But they definitely shot up into it. Now I will say that this course, I don't want to say that this course but it is, it is true. It is different from playing like at a nationals or at a course that is of that 7,200 and up. That's a really big scoring separator, especially for those guys who are on the lower end of things, and it really kind of bunches everybody together. I really thought Illinois State could have even won by more, but, in teams rounds, it kind of makes up those differences if you have, kind of 1 or 2 guys who can carry that load on on courses that only have kind of maybe some longer par threes. That's the toughest holes, whereas, at USDGC, some of these other courses, but Brazos, there's these longer par fours we have to make and execute multiple shots from multiple players. And so, even though that kind of bunches the scoring together, I still think that the right teams won and got the bids this weekend. So congrats to them. Congrats to Illinois State and Iowa State in D2. And congrats to Illinois State and the University of Whitewater, Wisconsin. Congrats to you guys. Impressive stuff and impressive showing from you guys this weekend. And I'm excited to keep covering more of college disc golf with the Mid-Electric Regional coming up this weekend, a few more events that are happening. So again, if you're interested, you like the content, you made it to the end of the video, make sure you like and subscribe. Let me know what you want me to do in the future, some ideas, what do you think? And I'm excited to get more stuff out to you this weekend. So make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.